We're married, but the honeymoon's over.
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
Welcome into another edition of Southwest Bias, brought to you by our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You gotta love it when you go out there. Plus, we're live from Studio K. You see the sign over my shoulder, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle today, and I didn't get a stop at Circle K, so I'm a little cranky today. You look at it, and the Cardinals aren't what we thought they'd be. And I think we've let some people off the hook. Let's be honest. We've been hard on Drew Petzing, rightfully so. We've questioned Kyler Murray. I think that's fair. But I think that we are officially to the point where Jonathan Gannon doesn't have the benefit of the doubt, at least from fans at this point. Because what you thought was the final stage of a rebuild looks like you're still smack dab in the middle of it. And sure, some of that's Monty Ossenfort building a roster. Some of that's injuries. There's a multitude of reasons why. But the unbridled excitement for Jonathan Gannon, I feel like, is no longer quite there. There are things to question. There's cracks in the foundation that may have been overlooked because the first year, obviously, that's a throwaway year. You're just building the culture. Last year, you had the excitement of starting 6-4 and being in the conversation to win the NFC West. But in Gannon's tenure, they're 14-25. They've won at a 36% clip. And over the last 62 games, if you really want to look at how bad and miserable it's been for Cardinals fans, they're 19-43. It's been more of the same over the last 3 seasons. And we thought this was the year that they were going to bust out of that, change things. And it just hasn't been that. Close losses are still losses. But you have to win to prove that you are it in the NFL. It's plain and simple. And Jonathan Gannon yesterday talked about what kind of changes that they're going to have to make, if any.
Yeah, I mean, we've tweaked some things, It's not difficult. I'll be honest with you. You double down on what you know is true. You take in the facts. These are the facts. You take emotion out of it, and you solve problems. You got to find solutions. So you got to have a steady mind to do that. But I think our guys are trained that way. Our coaches are. And if you want to turn it around with a lot of ball left here, we're mid-October, a lot of ball left. You got to find solutions and you got to play better. So it's a good question, but you don't. You double down on what you know to be true and get better at your process.
Look, I understand press conferences are coach speak. There's a lot of things that aren't actually going to be said in a press conference. But doubling down on what you know right now to me is I know that you're 14-25 in your time here. I know your offense has looked disjointed at best and doesn't make sense when your $40 million man is out there the way you're calling plays. I also understand that you have great belief in Drew Petzing and that you're, tied to him. But doubling down on what you believe doesn't always solve issues. Sometimes change is necessary. Sometimes looking in the mirror and deciding that things aren't where you need them to be, and maybe you need to alter your philosophy, is part of it. And I'm not saying go out there and just say it as platitudes to the fans, because that doesn't do any help. And I respect a man that is very staunch in their belief on how things should work. But right now the Cardinals can't afford to double down because they're injured. They haven't looked good when they're not. Their defense, which is supposed to be the strength, disappears in the fourth quarters. And you have lost some of the more heartbreaking games and some of the more embarrassing games in Arizona Cardinals history. There needs to be some change. But there's one change that I fought for yesterday, or at least brought up the argument, that Jonathan Gannon yesterday made pretty clear isn't going to happen.
Week after this to let him have a couple weeks rest at this point?
No, when he's out there ready to play, he'll play.
Kyler's going to play when he's ready. It does not even seem like there's any consideration about what or how they might be able to alter things. Again, you look at it, and there's no denying Jacoby Brissett is a backup and will continue to be over the long run. But like I said yesterday, sometimes Mr. Right isn't there, so Mr. Right now is what you have to look at. Now, that could be code for Kyler's not going to be ready this weekend, so we will see Jacoby Brissett again. Again, coach speak. But to me, you got to start looking at where the solutions are. Doubling down isn't going to do it. And the more you lose this season, the less faith that fans will have in this process that's going on. And I assume the less faith that ownership will have in terms of this process, especially if you are staunch in not making some changes that could help lead to more success. People had the expectation of playoffs. Right or wrong, that was the expectation. That's what we were sold on. And if you fall extremely short of it, you're going to have a quarterback change next year in all likelihood. You're going to have coordinator changes, and the questions about Jonathan Gannon will get louder. I don't necessarily think that he would be on the hot seat. That's not it. But the fact that so many people, myself included, were fully bought in on Jonathan Gannon, the vision, and that this was going to be the year that they took a step back, it is inevitable that when that bloom falls off the rose, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, I don't know that I believe as much. And in this town, we've seen that when you lose people, it becomes very difficult to gain them back. Whether it's fans' butts in the seats, belief in you overall, winning is the only cure. And you got to find the answer how to do that. Because the honeymoon's over and the real work of the marriage begins now. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. We welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach. Shane, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
I'm glad. I am good. I'm good. I'm great. I'm in alignment today. I'm feeling fantastic. The skies have cleared. The sun is back. Look at that.
Literally.
That's timing right there. And, I feel pretty good. I am feeling less confident about Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah. Let's go back to the weather a little bit.
Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Did the weather affect your house at all last night?
I did not flood, but there's a retention basin in front of my house. Mm-hmm. It was a lake. You literally could have put a boat in it. Like you could put a kayak and gone back and forth. It was pretty bad.
Some pretty crazy after effects of that storm around the valley, and there were waterfalls coming off of A Mountain in Tempe,
which is awesome.
Part of the stadium apparently was damaged.
That's not good.
Yeah, that was one of the most wild storms ever. Of course, I was stuck in Studio A. And when I came back out, it was done already.
Oh, the thunder on the 19th floor here was loud and impressive.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. This is a soundproof room. You didn't hear it. Windows rattled out in the main portion of things. But okay.
Now we can move on.
Jonathan Gannon. I'm losing a little bit of that exuberance that I had, and I feel like the fan base is feeling that too. Is it fair? Are we There are obviously significant injuries right now, but I just feel like, especially with the way the defense has performed in those fourth quarters, you start to question things.
Yeah, I mean, you just really hope that the culture isn't the main issue. You hope that it's just a lack of. Well, I guess there's not really a good thing to hope for, because I was gonna say you gotta hope it's a lack of talent, but that's not really a good thing. But I guess the injuries, that could be an excuse. You definitely don't hope it's a lack of preparation.
I mean, yeah, I would hope not. I can't imagine that it is. He does. Jonathan Gannon does not seem like a guy that puts up. He's not wheeling the fruit cart out at practice like Cliff Kingsbury and saying, "Hey, enjoy your smorgasbord while we all run around and throw deep balls like we're playing backyard football."
Yeah, you have to compete against the Packers this weekend. The Packers are a good team, but they are not a top tier NFL team as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. They've got a really, really, really good defense. They've got a really solid quarterback and a couple of good receivers, but this defense can take a lot away. You really have to have a good showing. And it almost feels like you need to win this game. If you're Jonathan Gannon.
I feel it's pretty damn close, and I feel like if you don't, and you head into obviously a bye week and then a nationally televised Monday night game against the Cowboys, you'd be heading for disaster. Because
that's the thing. If you lose this game and then you have a week to prepare, and then you drop a game that would, the pressure would be so on for Gannon. If you drop that game against the Cowboys, he is gone. I don't really.
Well, okay, I don't think they would move on from Jonathan Gannon, but I think they would force coaching staff changes.
I don't know, man.
At that point.
I don't know. I don't know. With a week to prepare against a Cowboys team that you should beat, I don't know.
We've seen owners do crazier things. I'll say this, and thank you for all the bias in the chat, especially Schaff, because Schaff is bringing up some good points and talking about how the defense has been the only defense in the NFL to hold games, all their games within one score. I don't deny that, but the fourth quarter and allowing teams back in, whether it's because the offense hasn't held up its end of the bargain, the defense is exhausted by that point, whatever the reason is, that's still the fact. And I think Schaff again brings up an interesting point about fans wanting their QB, but honestly, there aren't any veterans available out there that are better than Kyler. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think you're drafting a quarterback and potentially resetting at that point. You can only repeat things so many times and hope of changes. As Paul says, JG's just not winning. That's the bottom line right now. And that's the truth. And Jeff says, if K1 is better than what's available, then coaches need to adjust play calling to open it up and ride or die with K1. I agree there too. If you're not going to play Jacoby Brissett, who obviously fits your system in what he showed, then you need to change your system to fit K1. We've talked about that, and that's what you need to see if Kyler plays this weekend or next weekend, or excuse me, after the bye week. That's what you need to see. You need to see a completely different approach to your offense, and that's why when I hear, you've got to double down on what you know, that worries me a little bit, because that's not we need to make some changes. That's if we keep doing what we're doing and we just execute a little bit better, it'll be all right. And I don't know that's the case, at least. Tucson Goat Guy says second half of the season and second half adjustments have really been a struggle for this staff. Could it be a Kyler issue after seeing Brissett? Maybe, but Gannon's leash is shorter for sure. Yeah, especially if you have a bad first half of your season and you have a bad backslide, or I guess you're not backsliding at that point, just a bad second half of the season, you're going to be in for some trouble. And Gannonite says year 3 feels like year 1. It does, and that's a problem. You're backsliding, and that's not okay. One other thing that I saw on the internet today that I want to get to before we take a break here is ESPN simulated the NBA season and went through multiple iterations of it and chose an interesting one to feature. And in terms of the Phoenix Suns, it's quite optimistic. even more optimistic than I've been. And I've been somebody that has been extremely optimistic when it comes to the Phoenix Suns. I've told you, I think they're going to win more games than last year. I think they're going to be in the play-in discussion at least into late in the season, maybe even into April as we come to the end of the season. This ESPN simulation says the Suns are going 42-40. They're going to be an above 500 team. They're going to win, 6 more games than last season, and they're going to be the 9th seed and make the play-in. That, if you look at that, and if that's what actually happens, if the stars are in alignment, as our Etsy Witch suggested yesterday, this will be an extremely successful season for the Phoenix Suns, and that first year of the Jordan Ott era that lays a great foundation. One that lays a more solid foundation than year one of Jonathan Gannon did. So I hope these simulations are right. We've seen computers be extremely wrong. We've seen analytics be extremely wrong. But I take a little solace that the computers at least agree with where I'm at, that the Suns team is going to be much better than that 31.5 over-under that our friends at Bet365 have them at. I'd hammer the over on that because this team is going to win more games than they did last year. On the other side of the break, actually first, all you in the bias, all the bias in the chat, we got 7 likes. I need you to hit that like button. Pound it like you're just angry at it, right? And get those likes up right now. And if you're not already, I want to see you become a supporters club member and get some of those fire emojis. We got the ahoy hoy emoji. We've got Johnny chugging a beer. We got Bo smacking his head in disappointment. There's so many of them. I want you to be a part of it. And it's super easy. You click the join button on YouTube. It's $5 a month. Become a supporter club member today. Now, on the other side of the break, I talked to someone, a very interesting individual, about something that's extremely near and dear to my heart right after this. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You hear me talking about them at the top of the show every day. But right now, you could get out there. I mean, last weekend I had envy because the Cardinals crew was out there. Shane was out there at Wild Horse Pass for their watch party. I was just coming back from out of town and couldn't make it, and I had Gila River withdrawals. I wanted to be out there at the fabulous resort, amazing casino, enjoying time with all of you, the diehards out there, and you should experience it for yourself. If you haven't, they have 4 Valley locations: Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, Vequiva, and Santan Mountain. It's the best that the Valley has to offer. It's a AAA 4-star resort. You can relax at the pools, get a drink, eat some great food. They've got everything that you want, plus 4,500 slots and live table games, and you can catch all the action in the state's biggest sports book. So why would you not go hang out there? Because you can go big and go home a winner, and you can deal with upscale to approachable dining, casual to classy, from bar to bar none. Their selection of dining options is amazing, and I know food. So you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Rally House. Shane, you've been out to a Rally House recently. Is there a more impressive place when it comes to Valley sports merchandise than Rally House?
Nope, and I'm going to be at another one on Friday at 5:30 for ASU Live Show.
It's going to be amazing. The one out at Tempe Marketplace, that's one of my favorite. I recommend you go out there, check out the crew, and check out all of the merch. When I was looking for one of the rivalry jerseys for the Cardinals, couldn't find it on a website in my size. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to Rally House. I'm gonna make the drive. I'm gonna leave work for a second. I'm gonna go over there. They had my size and multiple players, and I'm a bigger guy, a little less big than I used to be, but they had the size that I needed. And then I walked around. They had Suns merchandise. They had even Coyotes merchandise. Still, they had ASU, U of A, Diamondbacks, everything that you could want. It's unbelievable. I want you to find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at Rally House today. They've got them in Mesa, Tempe, and Glendale. Go check them out. That's Rally House. Like I mentioned, I got a chance to catch up with somebody from the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization last week. and had an unbelievable conversation about how this impacts the Valley so seriously and how you can get involved. Please stick around. Listen to this. I'd like to welcome in Steve Conrad of Big Brothers Big Sisters on the program today. How are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me here today.
Of course. We've supported Big Brothers Big Sisters for a while here, and we've talked about it on the program, but I thought it was time to have a representative come in, somebody that's as passionate as you are about this, to talk about what the work is that you guys do here in the Valley and how important it is to find bigs for littles here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. It really is. So Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona had been serving this community for 70 years now, started in 1955. In that time, we've served about 60,000 children in Arizona. Each year we have, right now, currently this year, we have about 1,200 matches, active matches going. And that's both community-based, which is about 900 littles matched with a one-to-one with a big. We really are always looking for more men to match with. And then we have our site-based programs as well. So that could be a school or a site like 1 in 10, UMOM, places like that where bigs can go in and do more of a group type of match. And that's usually like 45 minutes to an hour during a lunch. And they just meet, they'll play games, they'll talk and catch up. And that's really what it is. It's about forming a friendship with a caring adult that also helps kind of guide them in their lives. They don't have to do that though. That's not, you don't have to be like a mentor or have any experience mentoring. It's really about showing up for a kid who might have just one parent in the household or really busy parents where they don't have time to take them to everything or even get interested in what that child is doing. And we'll try to match them with someone interested in similar things and spend about 1 hour a week. That's all we ask for. Yeah.
So it's as simple as just building a connection is really what these kids are in need of. It's not, I mean, I think people hear, you mentioned the word mentor and people go, oh, that's a huge task, but it feels like, from not only when we're talking here, but what we've talked about in the past, that this is as simple as just being there.
Right. You could just go throw a football around or play catch. Really, it's as simple as that. It's showing up. And, we thought, they need to have these big, grandiose type of events. Like before I even started here, I thought that's what it meant. Yeah. But really, the things that the littles say is he showed up for my basketball practices and he watched me play. And that made a huge difference to me, to have somebody there feeling like someone's in their corner and just there for them without having to really do much at all. And as I mentioned, we try to match with common interest. Like you said, that's all it is. It's common interest and shared experience over time, and that builds a relationship, and it helps these kids grow up. We have some of these relationships. We have one right now that's lasted more than 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Bev and her little have been matched. You age out when you're 18, but that we don't stop anyone from still becoming friends and remaining friends. And they've, Bev was in her little's wedding.
Wow.
And every major life event when she had a child, all those things throughout her whole life. And that's happened many times. We also, I know here, maybe sports focused, Larry Fitzgerald was a big. And imagine that happening. Imagine you're little, you're waiting a while, and we've got a match for you. And it ends up being a professional NFL player who's amazing. Even Greg Stanton was a big, when he was mayor of Phoenix, and that little got to go to all the city council meetings. That might not sound exciting to everyone, but for some people, that's a huge, right? That's a huge deal. And Greg is still connected to his little.
That's amazing.
And it's been 20 years. And he still finds out what he's doing and all of his life events, and married and has a kid on the way. And so those relationships can affect both people's lives, the child and the adult, and last a lifetime.
But I'm too old, so I can't have Larry Fitzgerald be my big at this point.
Oh, I know.
Aged out,
I know.
right?
You could pretend.
All right. A man can dream.
So 6 to 18 for our littles. But yeah, 18 and up for it to be a big. So you could be a big. Absolutely.
I'm definitely interested in that. But when we've talked about the time commitment and everything, but when you look at the impact, why is it so important to find, you talked about male bigs right now. Why is it so important to find additional male bigs, and what's that impact overall for these kids when they're matched with somebody?
I love it. Thank you. They're actually, your timing is great because this year a new study came out. It was a 30-year study done by Harvard University and the U.S. Department of Treasury, and they followed littles in the program for 30 years of their lives. And they found they were 20% more likely to go to college. They earned more in their lifetimes. Wow. 46% less likely to use illegal drugs and drink alcohol. Our graduation rate for high school for our littles is 96%.
Wow.
If they're in the program. So they found there are two main indicating factors. The most important indicating factor for how much you earn in your lifetime, your job, all of that is education level. Second to that, they found is having a mentor in your life.
Wow.
Right? Did you ever have, let me just ask that, have you ever had any kind of mentor figure?
Yeah, multiple. I mean, when I was young, I think it was as simple as my dad and my grandfather helping mentor, my mom as well. And then I've had multiple in my career that have just, I started in radio when I was 15, 16. And like Vince Murata, who's at Arizona Sports, was one of those early on. The producer of Suns basketball, Bob Adlock. I happened to go to the same high school that he had graduated from about a decade or more previous, and he kind of helped foster my interest in television and broadcast. So yeah, I've had plenty, and I think to your point that the impact, even in small meetings with certain people have had a large impact in what I've been able to accomplish. And even, just the confidence to be able to do it when you know somebody that has been in the kind of role that you want or near it, and that they take the time to just show interest. So I imagine that's kind of what the impact here is just knowing that somebody cares with a similar interest can help lead to those things that you were talking about, that success later in life.
Exactly. And it sounds like you had quite a list, right? Yeah. And some people are really lucky like that, to have someone that guided them along their path.
I was just annoying and kept bugging people until they said, fine, I'll give you a few minutes.
I love that. Well, some kids might not have that opportunity. Yes. Maybe they're latchkey kids. I grew up myself as a latchkey kid, and it was just go home and watch TV, and that was how you grew up. But some of these kids have no access to that. So what we try to do is really find those kids, especially the ones that need a mentor the most. And yes, while right now most of the children we serve might come from a single parent household or in some kind of vulnerable situation, a lot of our children also might have an incarcerated parent. It's really something for every single child. Yeah. Right? It doesn't have to be the most vulnerable. Those are the ones we really try to serve, of course, but everyone can use a mentor in some capacity. So we try to get more and more volunteer bigs. So the way I say it is that our donors make it possible for this to happen, and our mentors, our bigs, are the ones who make it happen. So really those two parts are what we need all the time. And people, if you play sports, right, especially the listeners here of ALLCITY PHNX, I myself am a diehard, right? Love it.
Appreciate it.
Sure. But, it's really just, if you're interested in some kind of sport, we try to find a little who's interested in that same kind of thing. And all you do is go to their games or go play football with them, or baseball or soccer, whatever it is. Yeah.
You mentioned 1,200 kids right now,
yes.
But is there a waiting list? Is there a large amount of kids that are just waiting for somebody to actually contact you guys and say, hey, I'm really interested in helping?
This sounds scripted, but this is absolutely, you're just asking these questions.
Yes. That's the job. My mentors help me figure out how to ask the right
Sounds
questions,
like you're asking exactly what I would have written out for you to ask.
I can promise you, he gave me no questions in advance. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah. But we do. Our average wait list is around 300 kids all the time.
Wow. Okay.
And we're constantly trying to lower that. We have sped up our process, but it's a long process, right? Finding someone, we try to make sure they live in the same area, right? They lived here at least 3 months already in Arizona, and they plan to stay a year. We ask for 1 year commitment. And so then we try to find not only live in the same area, similar interests, They match up. They have the time for it. But really, can they make that commitment, and then will they stay around that whole time? And then we have to do background checks, and we have to make sure everybody clears that, because safety is the number one thing. So no matter what, we'll always have some kind of waiting list. There's a little delay, but we've got it down to about 22 days sometimes where we get a little in and we'll find a match. But our longest is sometimes 2-3 years waiting because it'll be in a certain area where we might not have a big. So we've adapted to that, though. We have a family program. We have, what we call big duos, where 2 people can actually have one little, and that way the time commitment kind of splits up and you can do things together as a group. Families can do it. And then we started our site-based things as well. And then we have also done things for our waiting littles. So this year we partnered with Valley of the Sun YMCA, and they did this really incredibly generous donation for us, where they allowed all the kids in our wait list and all the kids in our program to do free swim lessons.
That's
One,
awesome.
to prevent drowning. Yes. And then they did free junior mercury for all the littles, all the girls in our program to join and play on the YMCA Junior Mercury. And that's just through a great partnership that we've developed that helps get a coach then. So at least there's some kind of mentor relationship for the waiting littles, right? Because coaches are also great mentors.
Amazing. I love that you guys are so focused on the holistic picture with it too, and taking care of those kids that are waiting for that big. You brought up donations as well. I know sometimes people don't necessarily have the time because there's a lot going on in their life, but that is a way that anybody can help, correct?
Absolutely. We always look for more donors to support partners and donors, both corporate partners, donors. We have fundraising events that we do. We have one coming up with you.
Golf
soon.
tournament. Yeah, you'll hear about that soon.
Oh, good. I think it's November 22nd.
That is correct.
At 8 a.m.
Arizona Grand. The link's on gophnx.com. You can help out Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and enjoy a little golf, which, everybody will love that. Maybe we can get some littles that are interested in golf. We'll give them a foursome. They can come out.
That's the kind of thing that's a brilliant idea, right? Then they get more interested in golf, and you never know where that ends up. But so there's those. That's a way we introduce people, but also giving monthly giving, right? You could give $5, $10 a month just to see what we're about, and you help create a match, and you'll hear about those match stories and just see what a difference it makes in a young person's life. Absolutely. And then we have a lot of ways to give. We also have a donation center, clothing drives. You can do those through your work, through churches. You can do it yourself. And we have bins located all throughout the valley that are in parking lots, but we also will do pickups.
Wow.
So we still do that.
So it is October. We're obviously heading into the holiday season. Right. Is this an extremely important time to find some of those matches? Because I think we all know that sometimes that holiday season can be particularly lonely. Is it extremely important to try to find some bigs now as we head into that?
Exactly. So this is a big time. We also do things for families, even of our wait list littles, where we'll adopt a family through the holidays. But yeah, it's a really good time because, as you said, it can be a very lonely time for people, both bigs and littles. Yeah. So when people find each other, they make this great friend. And it's not a parental relationship. It's a brother or sister relationship, right? So it's like having a little brother or little sister. And that's really important. And you don't have to make a financial commitment like, I'm going to buy them gifts and swoop in like Santa Claus. It's really just someone feels like they have a friend now through the holidays, someone to talk to about all the stresses of the holidays sometimes too. But yeah, and then it's also a huge time for us for donations too. It's the biggest time. 2/3 of all giving in the United States is these next 3 months. And then 33% of that is the last 3 days of the year so that people can get tax deductions. And then of course, we are a qualified charitable tax organization where you can get a state tax credit. So basically you can send your money to Big Brothers, Big Sisters instead of the state taxes. You can direct it. And basically, if you've already paid your state taxes through payroll, you get a check back after you file your taxes. And that's always fun too.
We want you to be charitable, but if it comes down to just getting your own tax money back, you can help them out too. Well, whatever it takes, we want you to help Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Right.
Anything else, that you want people to know about the efforts that you and the team are making and how we can help?
Absolutely. It's really just as simple as getting started. Just showing up that first time where you say, yes, I want to try this. You can go to our website, which is bbbsaz.org, and then just click on volunteer, and that will start the process. And it's really easy. And you get interviewed, and we try to match you with a little that has common interest. That's how you become a big. It's even easier to donate because all you do is press that give button on that same website, and you can support making a match as well.
And then if people are looking to also donate clothes, like you said, I assume you can find those locations on the website as well.
Exactly.
Great.
And then you can contact us and we'll do pickups, home pickups and church pickups, all that.
Fantastic. Steve, I really appreciate the time. I am truly impressed with the work that you guys do here in the Valley and the larger organization throughout the country. It means a lot to see that. My wife worked in education. I've been around kids. I was one once, if you want to believe that as well. And I know how important it is to have people around and to help. And I'm so glad that you guys are here to help facilitate that in the Valley. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Great to talk with you. Appreciate it all. Thanks.
Big thanks to Steve Conrad of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona. Highly recommend becoming a big. And thank you to all the mentors out there, everybody that helped me along the way, and everybody that's helped each and every one of you, the bias in the chat. Hit that like button on the way out. A big shout out to the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, making everything happen today. You can follow him at Shane Dief. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And you can follow me at Espo. And remember, it's cold outside, or at least getting cooler, but that seat might be getting a little hotter for Jonathan Gannon. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.